Welcome to the Builders Podcast, episode 123, Ricardo Boggs, where tech, business, and personal growth collide. Before we jump into this episode, please subscribe to this podcast, hit that notification bell if you're on YouTube, and after a listen, please give us a thumbs up, like, and share, if we've earned it. With your help, we can reach more people and deliver these valuable from the trenches lessons to those that need it. Enjoy the episode. Hello, everybody. Welcome to another The Builders. Today, we are joined by Ricardo Boggs. Welcome to the show, Ricardo.
Thank you, Matt. It is an honor and a pleasure to be here with you today.
Wow. Same. It's an honor and pleasure for me to have you as a guest today. Ricardo is the Director of Technology at the Brave Thinking Institute. Ricardo actually was introduced to me by a gentleman called Dolan White, who has been on this podcast a few times, who also works at the Brave Thinking Institute as the COO over there. So we have that gentleman in common.
Yeah, that is correct. I do work for Dolan, and as Dolan would say, sometimes he works for me.
That's good. He understands leadership then.
Exactly.
He's a great guy. We go way back. I worked for him for a few years, or maybe he would say that. I don't know if he ever worked for me, but he's become a good friend over the years, and it's a real pleasure to be talking to somebody today that knows him. We're going to talk about, because you're in technology, obviously, we'll probably be talking about technology a little bit today. But the first thing we do on the Builders, what we like to do, is kind of dig into your story a little bit. The story arc, how you ended up where you are today, the awesome person you are today, doing the things you're doing at Brave, and what that looks like, kind of your background, where it all started, what influenced you to get into this field and all that.
Yeah, that's a great question. Thank you, Matt. Mm-hmm. I actually originally went to school to become an engineer, and it was after many hours of being in the lab, no windows, not seeing the sunlight, that I decided, you know what, maybe this field isn't for me. But I've always had a high interest in technology, and that's when I found management information systems, or as some people call it, business information systems. And I said, you know what, I'm going to give it a shot. And my very first class, I had a professor who just inspired me. And I decided to endeavor into the management information systems field. And that's kind of what kicked off my journey as a professional in technology.
And how far back are we going? You look relatively young.
Yeah.
3 years ago?
I appreciate it, and I hope I stay looking like this forever. But no, that was in 2012.
2012, okay. And so that's cool that a professor inspired you. Like, you give that guy a lot of credit for, or gal, a lot of credit for sparking the interest in what you're doing.
I absolutely do. And it was that experience that changed my life forever. And I ended up obviously completing that. And right after school, I became a part of the technology leadership program at CityBank. It's a program of 10 people with hundreds of applicants from all over the world. And that was the beginning of my introduction to leadership in the business place. And after completing that program, I decided, you know what, I'm gonna move companies, change industries, and continue this leadership in technology experience.
Interesting. Let me actually rewind a little bit, because you kind of glossed over the fact you kind of always were into tech and always interested in well, you had an interest in engineering at some point. What was that? Where does that come from? Did you just love computers when you were growing up and as a kid played video games, or where'd that come from?
Yeah, so I don't know how many of your guests in the past have had the opportunity to grow up in the digital age, but I did have that. And just having been exposed to I was a kid when the .com boom was happening, when Y2K was happening. And so I believe that I was influenced in a way to become curious about those kinds of topics and issues going on in the world. I also enjoyed playing video games, or I remember when DVR or TiVo was a thing, and just I always had that sense of curiosity around technology. Obviously, to me, that was just the norm. These are the tools that we have at our disposal. And I always just loved to play with them, figure them out, and play with computers as well. I mean, build computers. Particularly, my area of interest was software, and what we could do with software, and what we would be able to accomplish as software would develop. And I've always considered myself to be an early adopter of different technologies, and that's what carried me through into, well, what do I want to study? What do I want to build a career off of? And it was those early influences.
Interesting. So you like building things when you were young, building computers and stuff, and yeah.
Well, I really enjoyed taking them apart and learning about them. It was the putting them back together that I found to be a little bit of a challenge.
Yeah. So you had a lot of stuff kind of taken apart around you, and creating the mess.
Yes.
Yeah. No, that's cool. I can I relate. I go a little bit further back into the 80s, but I think for me it was. Luckily, I had parents that were, and particularly a father who kind of liked electronics and stuff. And I would always, he would push me into these things. I even built like a robot with the help of him and my uncle for like the science fair. It never really worked, but the experience was great. It was literally this like cylinder that was just supposed to like, and this is probably in mid 80s. It's supposed to like just kind of go around the room. If it had sensors on it, if it would bump into something, it was really basic.
So you built the first Roomba then?
Yeah, it might have been, right. I wish I had pictures of it. It was just like, it was literally just a cylinder and with wheels on it. But, and then my father also we had Apple computers, in the 80s, and he would get the Apple computers, and I would program on it. I would learn BASIC and all that stuff. It's kind of interesting, that to have that. I got lost for a number of decades, but I found my way back to technology eventually. So it's cool.
Well, and the some of the early Apple computers that had the colored backs to them. Maybe that was also an additional influence that I just found those to be cooler, I guess, than the standard desktop.
Right. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. So I imagine your parents or your family or somebody kind of was encouraging you to do this as well. So was your family, was your parents in like tech or in business or anything like that?
So you and I share that we both have fathers that introduced us to the technology aspect, because that is the person in my life that, I would say he's also an early adopter. He also, still to this day will play video games. And so just exposure to computers and gaming consoles. And I remember being a kid, and back when we had the AV cables, the red, yellow, and white. And so because I was smaller, I'd be able to crawl in behind the TV, and he'd explain to me, you got to make sure you plug this cable here and that other one there. Before HDMI. And so I'd be in the back plugging and unplugging cables, and partially because my father needed help with connecting, whether it was the new I mean, I remember when the DVD player came out, it was the same thing, right? Getting back there. So
Yeah.
I definitely had that influence as well.
Yeah. So some people, they have parents that are into sports and they go into like all this. We got nerds for tech nerds for fathers. Yeah. So that's awesome. Yeah. No, and I too, even in his older age, he doesn't anymore. He's getting up there. Sorry, Dad, if you listen to this. But he used to like build little robots and stuff. So even into his 60s and 70s, he would like get into, do some C++ programming.
That's great.
Anyway, so cool. So that's really interesting. That explains a lot of why you found your way into tech and why that was so interesting to you. Now, you said at some point, though, now threading back through college, your professor that inspired you, and now you're going into the business side of technology. What was it about the business side of technology that interested you? What was that relationship there that, besides just tinkering around with stuff?
Well, the biggest difference between my experience in engineering versus information systems in business is that business does have the human element to it. A lot more human interaction, having conversations, being able to influence your peers, influence your leaders, influence your team, the people that report to you, and believing in a mission, believing in a vision. And I knew that while I had this high interest and curiosity around technology, that it was really that interaction with other people that would make me feel more purposeful, feel more connected. And that's really why I made that transition and why I decided to embark on an information systems journey is it has the both elements to it. And having spent many, many years with software developers, technical engineers, and having gone through the study and training around the type of work that they're doing, and having the personal skills to be able to communicate that to non-technical people, I was like, this is where I fit in. I fit in right in between the highly technical people and the non-technical people, and being able to explain, here's what's happening without getting into the weeds of the technology, right?
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting. And it's kind of cool that you kind of figured that out, because you were probably trying all kinds of things when you were younger, and am I going to be a programmer? Am I going to be an engineer? Am I going to be, and all of a sudden you stumbled on this thing that affects people more, and you interact with people more and has more impact on the world. And that, what you said there too, is I feel like we have some things in common for some reason. Maybe that's Dolan's. He figured that out before we did. But there's something with me too. Like certainly I've been a coder. I've built websites and WordPress themes from the ground up, line by line. I've done all that stuff, but I think I've always gravitated to having teams, and I've always gravitated to also want to work with clients and things like that. Like I like solving their problems and working with the team to help me do that and understand both sides. Like you said, I actually got complimented a month or two ago about this, or not even complimented like directly, but sometimes I see that the communications between like one of our partners and their clients say, well, Matt's this guy that he knows how to really explain things without getting too technical, like understand, things in a way. I don't remember exactly how he said it, but like I was able to translate the technical side without getting too much into the weeds. And so apparently I'm good at that or something, but
well, and it comes to show your experience, I believe, because what I have noticed has made me more effective at my job is how much time have I spent in the trenches with the technical people. Because when they're explaining something to me, it is important not only that we're able to communicate effectively, but also so that I understand their potential challenges with certain decisions that are made on the other side of the business, right? And that was one of the beautiful aspects of that technology leadership program that I was telling you about, that I had the privilege of being a part of. Is we spent 8 months in 3 completely separate roles for a 2-year period in this program. And I was a developer, I was a technical project manager, and I had the opportunity of being a digital product owner. And so having had my hands in the code, having had the experience of, well, what are project timeline impact and budget impacts, as well as being the one that's holding the client in mind and the spirit behind which a digital product is being built for. Having those 3 very unique lenses and perspectives gave me a wide spectrum of awareness around, this is why this matters. This is how something works, and to you, the business, this is what it means for you, or that decision that you're contemplating about making is going to have an impact on the team or in development or in time or money in this way. So having the experience is really what I think makes you and I effective and successful at the type of job that we execute.
Yeah, so that's really an interesting way to put it, a good way to put it, because you have to understand, like, if you're talking to, I think it helps if you, like, in my case, I run businesses, so I understand how crazy we are running businesses, but I also understand how that translates to the back end guys or the programmers or how things are built, and scope wise or whatever. So I mean that's really good. And so I mean you did the development stuff, you did you did product owner, whatever. What are the big lessons there? What do you think are the tricks or the things that that helps that communication along? Like, what do you when you're talking to a business owner or something and they're explaining something they need, how do you talk to them about the technical side without getting too technical, like we're talking about, and translate that?
Yeah, so in the communication, going in 2 different directions, the communication to the business, or whether it's a marketing department, a finance department, operations, whoever may be on that end of the business, it's really about explaining the value that the opportunity given to the developers, the technical people, the value that they're bringing to the table, because both ends of the work that's being completed have very different set of priorities, very different set of ways of communicating. And so when I talk to the business, it's all about, here's what we're doing to serve you. And at the end of the day, as long as they know and feel that, number one, you understand what their priority is. And the way that I do that is by reiterating, here's what I understand is the goal. Here's what I understand is the impact that we want to create, not just for our business, but ultimately for our clients or our customers, right? And by being able to communicate back to the business, I understand you, and here's how I'm going to tell you that I do that. Then when you come back to whoever's requesting the support from a technical aspect, and you say, hey, we hit a challenge, or we were able to improve upon what you requested by doing this, right? Then we're able to there's a synchronicity that occurs with the business, because they will trust you. They will know that you get why they need the work to be done, or why this is important. Because if there's one thing I've learned, is that everybody says that their thing, the work that they're requesting to be done, is the most important, piece of work that you can do. And so by helping them feel heard and understood, then they'll trust you to be able to make the decisions, to communicate that to the technical team, to the developers. And it becomes a mutually beneficial relationship, because then you can separate the developers or the technical resources from having conversations with the business, because one of the number one challenge or issue that I have seen occur time and time again is a breakdown in communication. And when you have two different sets of people that have just different language, basically, then there's mismatch, and that can create frustration, that can create distrust. And that challenge, the communication challenge, has the potential of being what kills the project, what creates a missed deadline, what creates increasing cost, right? So scope creep. As technologists, we've experienced that many, many times. And so to me, my priority is communication.
Yeah, I think I always joke with people that I might over communicate sometimes. I would rather err on the side of over communication and asking a lot of questions. And like you said, reiterating it. Okay, this is how I understand what you're looking for. And also having a good knowledge of the business side, because like even on the marketing side, because I deal with marketing departments or copywriters, or depending on the scenario, and having the background in marketing, having the background in business, I do understand their needs and why this is important to them and all this stuff. And but then still, like you said, just always having an actual conversation and digging deeper, and then filtering all that to go back to your tech team and translate it to just what they need to know. And,
absolutely. And I've learned that as much as in my early career, I was told just pass along the message as to what needs to be done by when. And over the years, Matt, I've learned that actually there is a third piece of information that I have learned is it makes a big difference. It makes a big difference in their desire to deliver on time, to deliver high quality work. And that is for the sake of what? Why is this important? Why does this matter to you? And that also is a piece of the communication that I have with the rest of the business. Help me understand what are we doing here? You know, it's about the difference that the project or the scope of work is going to create. And then when you're able to communicate that effectively to the development team or the rest of the technical team, they feel a part of what you're doing as a company. And it also helps them, you know, it's a motivating factor for a team that in many companies around the world is just, here's what you need to do, and I need it by this day. A team that sometimes can get put into this box of you're just supposed to do work.
You're just
helping
a robot.
them feel exactly helping them feel a part of this greater group is it makes a big difference.
That is actually huge, and I think and it's something I try to do often. Is like you don't have to communicate everything to your technical team. They don't need to know everything and know about the business stuff and all that stuff. But knowing why they're doing something, and also what I like to do, and I remember recently I did this. So we had this is an example. We have a certain client we've had for a couple of years. They get a lot of search traffic and do a lot of business. But one of their biggest things since almost day one, speed is their biggest thing, because it's such an impact on search, and mobile has become even more important in the last couple of years. And so mobile speed was the highest priority. And, but it was a tough nut to crack because their website was a mess when we got it, and it's taken a long time to get them in a good place. And, but we got them in a good place, and we had some breakthroughs though a few months ago And my team, I give my team all the credit. I might have been pushing them. We can just, keep trying, keep doing. Can we do this? And then you have an iteration. I think, can we do a little bit better? Can you? And then I had one particular team member who suggested something, and he worked on it, and literally doubled the speed. Just overnight, we just had this huge success, and that's great. Okay, that's awesome. Let's test it. Let's make sure everything's cool. That we're not missing something here. That it's not going to translate to production. And there was a couple bumps in the road there, but finally we got it out. And within that, probably a week later, the client said to me, "Matt, I just want you to know that we already have seen an impact on our rankings, and because of this, and I know that translates to more sales and probably conversions and all that." And so I didn't just take that information and be like, "Oh, that's great," pat myself on the back. No, I went back to the team and I said, "This is why we do this."
And that's
this is why we do this. Yeah.
And I imagine that would have given your team the second type of motivating factor that would create a result where you've done the best work or the fastest work that you ever have. And it's, things like money or paid time off or benefits, right? Extrinsic motivators, they're important. And having the intrinsic motivator coupled with the extrinsic motivators is what creates a highly efficient and highly productive team.
So explain that again in a different way.
Absolutely. So there are two ways of motivating a team or creating a highly effective team. One is external values to the individual, right? You have a back-end developer, front-end developer, and you want to motivate them to do better. Mm-hmm. One way of doing that is saying, well, if you produce these kinds of results, if you work faster, if you produce better work, then I'll pay you more money. That's what I mean by an extrinsic motivator. It's something outside of their beingness that could encourage them to do better. Okay. The other type of motivating factor is an intrinsic motivating factor. Intrinsic motivators are those that they find within themselves. So those can be feeling purposeful in your work, feeling recognized, feeling valued. So you'll notice that the three examples of intrinsic values, of intrinsic motivators that I just provided, all started with feeling, right? These are internal to the individual. And so by communicating for the sake of what are we doing this project, why does this project matter, it gives them the intrinsic motivator to feel like I belong to this greater group of people, that we're doing something in the world that matters. Or by giving them the public recognition, even within, if it's a small team or within a department or even within a company, it helps them feel seen and appreciated, and they will want to continue to do better, to do more, so that they can have more of that recognition in their life.
Everything is fine, everybody. Don't worry. We're still here.
Yeah, exactly.
We had a little technical problem, but we're back. But we were talking about
technologists. This is our life, right? We play with these pieces of technology and we find our way.
That's right. Well, it's interesting because that's actually this is what, episode 123, and I've never had that happen before. So
this would be the one.
You brought something to the table. No, so we were talking. We're going to go back to what we were talking about here, which was the intrinsic, extrinsic. that type of thing. I think I intuitively understood you, but I wanted you to just kind of explain that in a different way, just to make sure I understood it, and the listener would as well. So, but it's true, and I think when I'm always, like I said, it's another one of those things that probably a little bit more over the top about, because I'm always complimenting my team, always making sure when they do a great job, and some of them do a great job all the time, and it's probably a little overkill, but I still want to make sure that they know, I appreciate them and what they're doing and the work they're doing, and I think that does do a lot for them. And it could explain why some have been with me for a few years, because I do care and I do, communicate that. And I think it is that trap of, I think, a lot of people, and I think about people like even other companies or agencies I work with and have done work with that talk about all the problems they've had with past contractors, or outsourcing, and all this stuff. Well, what happens there in a lot of cases? They have a project and they just said, go do it. There's no communication. There's no relationship there. There's no bond, and there's no good framework there for them to actually understand, all the stuff we talked about. So, but I think that's the benefit of having your own team and being able to build those things and build that trust and have the communication and show you care. All that stuff really, really matters. So,
and Matt, you bring up a great point about contractors, because I do a lot of work with other companies, and at the Brave Thinking Institute, anytime there are 3 or more of us gathered on a call, we always speak into the meeting our mission and our 5 core values. And before I decide or pick a contractor to bring them on board for a project, I always ask them, are you willing to be a part of our mission and to speak our 5 core values into the meetings when we gather? Because not only is that important to us, that the people that we work with are in alignment with what we're doing and who we are, but it also gives them that reminder that when they come work on our project or do work with the Brave Thinking Institute, this is why it matters, and for the sake of what are we doing this project.
Wow. I bet a lot of people don't do that.
I have had people oppose that idea, and I say, you know what? You have a great day, and move on.
You're not a good fit then. Right, exactly.
Correct.
I mean, it's just like when I add somebody to my team, I measure a lot of things, and it's not all about skills and what their background and experience is. It's also about who they are and how they're going to fit in our culture and the way we do things and think. If they put up with my jokes and goofing around all the time, you gotta.
That does matter.
Make you laugh. If I can make you laugh, welcome to the team.
Yes, we're gonna have fun.
Gotta have a good sense of humor.
That's actually our 4th core value is we believe in fun. We create joy, laughter, and fun in all aspects of our work. And so what you're saying directly aligns with what I believe.
Yeah. I mean, I sometimes I think I measure my communication when I'm on a meeting with somebody, how many times I can make them laugh. I'm always trying. I try hard. I can't make my wife laugh. She doesn't think I'm very funny, but as long as I can come to work and make people laugh.
The toughest crowds are at home.
Yeah, that's right. That's where we hone our skills. And so, okay, let's actually, I want to talk to you about a little something else though. You got something else major. Maybe you're transitioning into in the coming. So you got this technology arc, and you started working at Brave. I don't know if we figured out how you ended up at Brave. How did you end up at Brave? Let's start there.
Great question. It was actually quite a unique experience. I was again in the leadership program at CityBank, and one of the awesome opportunities about that program is that they put you in high executive exposure roles. And by nature of the type of role or position or project that you'd be working on, it comes with, stress and the challenges around wanting to perform and do a good job for your company. And I'd had a particularly difficult fall in 2017. And there was one day when I had just hit a difficult moment in the project, and I was getting asked, when's it going to be done? And all the pressure that came with that. And so that day I went home, and that night when I fell asleep, I had a dream. And in this dream, I had died, and I woke up at the metaphorical gates of heaven, and there was this person standing at the gates with a clipboard, and they looked at me and said, "Ricardo, we've been waiting for you." And this person asked me a question, and the question was, "What have you done with the greatest gift of all?" And I knew that to me meant, what have you done with the gift of life? What have you done with this unique, blessed opportunity to live? And as soon as I thought of the answer that I was about to give, which was, I build digital financial products that help the company's clients manage their money, I just could feel in me the energy. I was, it was like disappointed that the answer that I was giving, that I didn't feel proud about that answer, that I didn't feel proud about how I had spent my life. And that was in November 2017. That January in 2018, I went to an event called Dream Builder Live, which is an event that the Brave Thinking Institute puts on. And it's a 3-day long event. And I had already had that longing and discontent ringing in the back of my head. And it was an eye-opening experience, because one of the things that you do at that event is you dream up a life that you would absolutely love to live. And the part of my vocational dream had nothing to do with finance or digital banking. And it was a big wake-up call for me that this is a sign. This is a sign that dream I had, and that what I'm hearing from myself today in terms of what I would love to do with my time and talent is not what I'm doing. And every day that goes by is a day that I'm not feeling fulfilled in my work. And so it had nothing to do with technology. It just was more so, what am I doing with technology? What industry am I a part of? And ultimately, what is the benefit that I'm bringing to the world? What is the change that I'm helping create? And who am I helping? And it sparked this journey of, moving from Texas to California, and really a journey of self-discovery. And I said, the Brave Thinking Institute is doing something special in the world. In fact, the mission of this company is that we empower people to create and live a life they love. And that was the exact journey that I was embarking on. And March 2018, I approached the company and said, I want to be a part of what you're doing. And here's my skill set. Here's what I can help bring to the table and what I can help do. And they said, you know what, this is the perfect time. Actually, we do see that you are a right fit for us culturally. And we do have a need in the technology realm of our company. And so I joined the Brave Thinking Institute in 2018 in March as a technology analyst. And over the 2 years after joining the company, I worked my way up. And in August of 2020, after the world shut down and everybody was going digital and virtual and all of the buzzwords that you hear around technology and business, at its height, at its greatest need, they said, we want you to lead the technology department. And that's when I got promoted to director of technology for the Institute. And here we are almost 3 years later. And thankfully, I am still here, and it's been quite a journey, Matt. It's been quite a journey.
That's amazing. There was some, that really, like, things just fell into place, like alignment. There was alignment, there was timing, there was all that stuff in that story. That's really cool. For you to be able to find something. How did you stumble upon Brave? I hope they don't mind me abbreviating. I just say Brave. Brave Thinking Institute.
Or we call it BTI as well, if you'd
BTI.
like to. Yes.
I like Brave. How did you learn about them though? How did you end up at this seminar or whatever they were having?
So the founder and owner of the Brave Thinking Institute is actually my grandmother, and she is a world-renowned speaker. I mean, she's led peace conferences at the UN. She has met with the Dalai Lama in Tibet, and she's done remarkable work in the world. And ultimately what she does is not just own and run the company, but her primary focus is serving the clients that come work with her as a part of the Brave Thinking Institute. Mm-hmm. And so she had invited me to the event and said, hey, I'm doing this thing. It's actually a great weekend. I think it'll, really support you. And she had no idea what I was going through. And ultimately, as much as I had a relation and a connection to her, it was quite a challenge to convince the people that help run her company on a day-to-day basis to believe in me. And I would say that, and actually, it's not just what I would say. I know for a fact, because it's been confirmed by those people, that because of that relationship, my hiring me and my work in this company and climbing the ladder to a leadership position was actually highly scrutinized. Yeah. Because if this doesn't work out, not only is that not an ideal outcome for her, but they wanted to make sure that the decision was based off of merit solely. And so when I laugh and say, I'm still here, I have had to prove myself every step of the way, time and time again. So I do feel very proud of the fact that, yes, I got exposed to the Brave Thinking Institute through my grandmother, but also the fact that I've earned every step, every promotion, every accomplishment that I have had as a part of this company, I have had to earn.
That's fantastic. Yeah. It makes total sense too that you'd be scrutinized a lot more. It might be more challenging for you. So within that though, there's a different thread here. So you were either in process of a kind of a transformation yourself and doing something different outside of technology, or you're moving in a different direction because there was some kind of agreement there that I remember this is from our first conversation.
Yes. Yeah. So I've been in technology for nearly a decade and in different capacities of leadership, and it ties back to what we were talking about earlier in regards to transitioning from an engineering role to more of a business career. And over the years, Matt, I learned that not only do I enjoy technology, but I'm also very passionate about speaking and connecting with people and motivating people, which is why intrinsic, extrinsic, right? And so there's been this through line in my entire technology career around people. And in fact, this company's mission is empower people. And so in watching, there is an element to this, again, to who's impacted me and influenced me, of watching my grandmother and the work that she's done in the world. Stages all over the world that sparked in me an interest around, well, what if I was to venture into an area of speaking, teaching, coaching people? And over the years, I have been a part of different organizations or clubs where public speaking is what we do. And I have just found that just fills me with love, with life and love and excitement and just expansive energies. And so I started looking a lot closer into, well, what is that part within me that enjoys that? And I knew that I would eventually make my way to that part of my of the type of work that I enjoy. And when I was approached by BTI CEO around being promoted to head of technology, I did give him the disclosure of, listen, I would love to take this role, and I want you to be aware of the fact that I've had this dream percolating within me around speaking and teaching from stage. So I see myself being in a leadership capacity within technology, at least for the next 5 years. And eventually this is going to bubble up, and I'm going to have an increase in desire to dive deeper into the speaking realm. And so that's the direction that I'm headed in. And I'm very blessed that the company, because it is part of the work that they do, it has been, again, back to alignment and timing, that they are also motivated to supporting that aspect of my dream. So there's a technology component and a motivational speaking component as well.
That's awesome. Do you think, like, what do you see yourself speaking on? When you see yourself, I know you envisioning yourself on the stage, what do you see in yourself speaking about? Like, does technology play a role in how you motivate or how you show up, or is it going to be something completely different? You're getting the internal aspects of motivation.
Yeah, I think we call this the both and effect, right? It's both the speaking and motivating and the technology, and what role does technology play? And so the topic that I'm currently most inspired by, which came from my own journey, is helping people rediscover themselves, find what is it in their lives that they feel driven by, not pushed by. And I know that there are, as far as I've seen from our clients at the Institute and hearing their stories, there is this moment in time when every young adult finishes their studies and they're looking to go into a professional field and build a career, that there's this moment of, I don't know what to do, I feel lost, right? And later in life, it tends to happen again when somebody's had a 30-year-long career, either at a company or a particular field, and they now have a desire to transition into something different, and they don't know how to navigate that landscape. And so it's really the topic of hearing people say, I feel lost, I don't know what to do, I'm not sure what path to take, as well as the topic of I don't know how to leave what I'm currently doing and move into a separate field because I've been in this for so long, I feel stuck, right? And so with that in mind, leveraging technology, number one is young adults are, cell phones, computers, digital media. It is a part of their lives. It is a part of all of our lives. And so how do we use the technology to support us in discovering who we want to be, what we want to do, as well as helping people leverage technology to transition from one field or one career to another. And now more than ever, there are more tools than we've had in the past to support with those two specific moments in our lives.
Brilliant. I like it. It's a lot of people go through that. Even my wife goes through that. She's been a nurse for 30 years almost. Mm-hmm. And she really needs a career change, but she has no idea where to start. She feels stuck. And I talked to her about
Matt. Let's have a conversation with her.
Yes, we'll do. We can have a podcast, just us three talking her through that. Yeah, working on
episode 2.
Yeah, there you go. But yeah, we definitely, hopefully someday we will have an episode 2 or 3. This has been a great conversation. I know there's so much more we could dig into. But I appreciate you joining us, Ricardo. And it's you got a really inspiring story. I'm looking forward to kind of from the sidelines, if I can keep track of you, to see where you go with your future in tech and all this new speaking stuff. Because I know you're going to have. I just have this sense about you. You're going to have a real impact.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
If somebody wants to connect with you, to chat with you, or can you be found on the web somewhere, or how do they find? I mean, obviously they can check out the Brave Institute. The Brave Thinking Institute. Don't forget thinking.
Yeah.
You got to think in between there.
Yeah, you can always find me on LinkedIn at Ricardo-Boggs. And you can also find me on the Brave Thinking Institute website. You can always reach out to our company. So bravethinkinginstitute.com or bti.com and on LinkedIn.
BTI. All right. Thanks. Thanks, everybody.
That's all for today's episode. I hope you enjoyed that. Again, please subscribe if you haven't already and give us a thumbs up if we deserve it. If you want to comment on this episode's page, provide me with requests on topics for future episodes, or inquire about being a guest, please find your way to thebuilders.fm. You can contact me there or add a comment under these show notes. Now a word from our sponsor, my agency, Unified Web Design. We build custom websites, features, we maintain websites, we work with agencies to fulfill their web design and development needs, and more. If you are interested in our services or are looking for an agency to work with as a partner to build awesome sites for your clients, feel free to reach out to me at unifiedwebdesign.com. There's a handy contact me link at the top. Fill out that form and it will open a ticket, and that ticket will find its way to me. Thanks for joining me today. We'll see you next time.